The purpose of this video is just to walk through an article that came out about some of the protections that the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is going to be putting in place now that homeowners are starting to transition from not paying their mortgage due to COVID back to paying their mortgage. If you're a subscriber to my page, welcome back, good to see you. If not, make sure you subscribe, like the videos, let me know if you have a comment or a question, even if you just want to kind of share what you're going through. I always love to hear from you guys. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is an organization that is intended to help consumers. They deal with a lot of unfair debt collection practices, but they also deal with the regulation of things in the mortgage servicing industry. So if you're somebody who went on a COVID forbearance, meaning you had an issue when COVID hit, it impacted the household finances, and you had to kind of stop paying your mortgage, at this point, the assumption is probably that the income has recovered, you're probably back to work, and you're either in the middle of a transition or you're about to start transitioning back to making your regular mortgage payments. The CFPB says that they want to make this process easy for homeowners, and so they've released some protections in place. The link to the article is below. I'm just going to talk briefly about what they're saying. But as you guys know, just because the federal government says certain things will be happening with mortgage servicers, that does not always mean that those things are actually happening. If you have a big servicer or a big bank, you know that it can be very challenging to get them to do the things that they need to be doing, and it often can feel like you don't have enough like footing or power with them to kind of make them follow the rules. So if you are experiencing trouble with your bank and trying to transition out of that, you're not alone. Watch my video posted shortly after this one that addresses kind of like how things are going. But this is what the CFPB is saying the like goals for mortgage servicing standards should be. So the first thing that they're saying is they want to make sure mortgage servicers are offering streamlined options to put people on loan modifications. So real briefly, a loan modification is a restructuring of your mortgage where if you've missed payments, you don't have to pay the full amount due. Instead, they will take that full amount, tack it onto the end of your loan, and then extend the maturity date of your loan out a little bit to allow you to just resume making regular payments. Typically, when you apply for a loan modification, you have to go through a big application process. If you want to do that, there's a lot of info about how to do that. But what the CFPB is saying is that they really want to try to make this easier, and that they're trying to encourage or require mortgage servicers to not request documents as part of the loan modification package to make it easier for you guys out there. That has not been I've done about 10 to 15 of these agreements so far, and that has not been my experience. So far, mortgage servicers are requiring a document package or at least an application in order to work on a loan modification. So there is some discrepancy between what the CFPB is saying will happen and what is actually happening. My recommendation is that if you're going to go through the loan modification package, be really detailed and just get a package done together per kind of what I've discussed on this YouTube page so that you don't run into any issues with having incomplete packages. So just to be clear, the CFPB is saying it will be streamlined. The banks won't require any documents. On the ground, in the trenches, talking to the lenders, they're requiring documents. So you want to kind of have that conversation with your lender or reach out to someone for help if you're not sure whether you should be submitting documents or not. If you want to stand the greatest shot at just getting your review through and getting it done, work on the document package. And there's information all over all over the different playlists I have about what to do and what to submit. Another thing that the CFPB is making clear is that there should be multiple options for homeowners who are requiring help after COVID. They are talking about the deferment issue and the loan modification issue. So we just went through what a loan modification is, but the CFPB is saying that homeowners who truly had a COVID-19 hardship, who have gone through a forbearance, should have the option to just take the amount that they missed and defer it to the end of the loan, meaning it still gets owed, but it gets owed on the maturity date of your loan. And then you just resume making regular payments. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have these deferral options. FHA has an option called a partial claim. It all kind of means kind of the same thing where you're not having to pay the amount that you owe. It's a little bit different from a loan modification in that it's just an agreement that kind of puts that amount at the end. On the trenches in the ground, it's going a little bit differently. Requests for those deferments are not being easily approved right now. And so I'm advising my Washington homeowners to go through the loan modification process if they have one of the banks that kind of has a difficult deferral procedure. So I have seen a couple deferrals go through, which is good. Definitely FHA partial claims are going through. But if you're somebody who's kind of trying to choose what to do and you talk to your bank and it sounds like the easier process might be a loan modification review, you might want to consider going through a loan modification review. But the CFPB has said that those will be options. They're also talking about the time frame. There hasn't been a ton of numbers released around exactly what the time frames will be, but the CFPB is saying that they want to make sure borrowers have plenty of time to go through the transition. So the good news is that the federal government is thinking about how to protect you guys. They are trying to come up with guidelines in place to kind of encourage the mortgage servicers to give you time. But the bad news is that mortgage servicers may or may not comply with it, and it can be difficult for you to kind of get through the process. So my advice to you is take responsibility for your own mortgage, educate yourself, inform yourself, get help if you can, watch these videos, and take full responsibility for kind of what is the best option for you. Again, there are tons of videos about how to do your documents, how to submit your package, but if you are in the middle of a transition and you feel like it's not going well, or if you're at the beginning stages, you might want to consider just reviewing what you're doing with somebody in your state who knows about kind of like how these processes go. And you want to find someone who knows about your individual bank, because each of these servicers are kind of implementing their timeframes and their document processes differently. Good luck.